Thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again. Your heart is true, you're a pal and a confidant. And if you threw a party and invited everyone that you knew, you would see the biggest gift would be from me. And the card attached would say, thank you for being a friend. We are the ones who don't know what we're fighting for. Give us a gun and send us all off to war. We are the ones who grow up in violent homes. We are the ones who don't know what's right or wrong. I know. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No more. We are the ones who don't know why we're losing score. Give them a badge so they could send us to the morgue. We are the ones who are scared to walk out the door. We are the ones who don't know what we're dying for. I know. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck now. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No. Get off his fucking neck. Oh, that makes you know. He can't fucking breathe. So that makes you know. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck now. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the latest episode of I'm No Joe, your home for all things combat sports and the place where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bronco. The views and opinions presented on the I'm No Joe channel belong solely to the person expressing them, no one else. If we say it, that means we meant it. That being said, this show does contain adult themes, adult content, and general shit that you shouldn't be letting your kids intake. Be advised, viewer discretion is recommended. Proceed at your own risk. You've been warned. Weird. Strange times. Anyhow, If it's Thursday, dust off your pit boys and charge up your power suits because we're about to fall out all over Vegas once again. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of appropriate ages, to the latest episode of the I'm No Joe podcast, the show where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bravo. Today, as like most days, I have got Slow Bake here with me to break down and get into all the shit talking and shenanigans, the fight announcements, and the fuckery that has shaken down the MMA pipeline since we saw you wonderful folks last. Before we get into all that fun, though, first and foremost, how you doing over there, brother?
Pretty fucking good. Been a rough week, but we're fucking at the end of it. About to fucking be at the weekend. We got a decent boxing fight I'm interested in this weekend too, right? Tyson
Sir.
Fury and Usyk.
Yes, sir. The first time in
Go for
heavyweight history, the four belts are all on the line for sure. Yeah, definitely some interesting shit. We get to that in the combat sports menu for damn sure. So, kick things off as we like to do around here with a little bit of news and recent events, fight confirmations, fight cancellations, rumors that have been confirmed or denied, things that are relevant in the fight space world that we feel you folks need to be aware of here. First and foremost, tying back, we just can't seem to get away from it. Well, now we've got the official side of things. Devin Haney's attorney has officially filed a motion with the Nevada State Athletic Commission to, get this, not only have the match with Ryan Garcia not ruled a disqualification, even though he missed weight and used performance enhancing substances, but he's trying to get the entire thing overturned to a win on grounds for disqualification, not a no contest. He wants to get a full disqualification from the athletic commission and turn this into a full-on win on his professional record. Bold fucking strategy, to say the least. I do not feel like that's going to work out, especially since literally a week from tomorrow, I think it is, we get the results from the B-side samples from Ryan Garcia's test being re-examined. So I don't think this is anything more than a stall tactic or a bit of a smoke screen to try and avoid having to run that match back, because we saw how the first one went. But not a good look. I don't think it's going to come to much, but not a good look for damn sure. Tying back to last weekend, there's three things that we've got to talk about here. No, two from last weekend. Yeah, one from before. Okay, so two things from last weekend to run down real quick here. Excuse me. First one, there's a reason we generally don't talk about misfits boxing here on the show. Every now and again, if there's a relevant fight on one of their cards, which is few and far between, we'll mention the match or mention that the card's going down, but we generally don't give them much shine for good reason. And last weekend, they stood up and proved why most people, not just us, don't give them very much coverage, because after a very lackluster, to say the least, card was put on, there was a gigantic brawl in the crowd where people were throwing fucking chairs at each other. Just complete fucking nonsense, ridiculousness, bullshit card, bullshit security at an event with a bullshit crowd, apparently. I don't understand what Paige Van Zant thinks she's going to get from headlining the next one of these events against another OnlyFans girl. I don't see how this has any benefit, and we're definitely not going to be talking about that event. I just think it's funny that that is what they're choosing to headline an event. So Misfits is just tripping all over them fucking selves and throwing Triller's money just right out the goddamn window quicker than they can fucking stack it. The one thing that wasn't or was, I guess I should say, was beyond anyone else's control last weekend that went down, that I want to talk about real quick, was right before weigh-ins, actually Friday morning, first thing Friday morning, we found out that Jared Gooden had an undisclosed medical issue and would not be making the time, or would not be making the trip for the weigh-in. And as a result, even though he had already weighed in, the match with Kevin Jousset was officially ruled out. Kevin Jousset, for the record, did show up and did make weight, even though Jared Gooden had an issue and was not able to proceed. So if anything, the silver lining there is that Giuseppe showed up and made weight ready to fucking fight. I think that's going to hold a little good weight with the UFC in his favor here. The other one here, not from last week, from 2 weeks ago. If you watch the fight or you saw us talk about it or you basically seen any media outlet talk about 301, you probably know where we're going, but it is now official. Ihor Potieria has officially filed an appeal for that 301 loss to Michel Pereira. The backflip into a knee to the head that didn't get anything done to it. I mean, I get that it was in Brazil and it was a Brazilian dude that did it, but come the fuck on. If nothing else, that one should be turned to a no contest. But with the fucking clear evidence we have in video from multiple angles of him intentionally backflipping and catching Ihor in the head with a knee, which is illegal to a grounded opponent, there is a slim chance this one genuinely might get overturned. I kind of hope it does because that was a bullshit move, but it's a Brazilian commission talking about a Brazilian fighter on a Brazilian pay-per-view. So there's lots of odds stacked against him, to say the least. We got a small slew of announcements here for fights over the last couple days, including just this afternoon. So I'm going to try and run down these as quick as we can here. 302, when we come back after the break, for June 1st, Newark got a very interesting fight added to it here. Kevin Holland is going back up to middleweight and taking on Michelle Oleksiejczuk. Oleksiejczuk, the Polish dude that hits real fucking hard at 185. Holland is going back to 185 and taking him on for 302, the pay-per-view card. Rumors that it's going to be on the main card as well. So kind of interesting to see what the fuck is going on with Kevin Holland right now, to say the least. The week after that, though, UFC Louisville got its official main event. Now that we're, 3 weeks out from it, Jared Cannonier versus Nasruddin Imavov. Not a bad fight. Not a main event, though. They are not doing any of these road cards lately any kind of favors, but they apparently aren't going to do the Apex cards any favors either, because the following week, June 15th, back at the Apex, we just found out this afternoon that the main event of that card will now be Alex Perez versus Tatsuro Taira. Both of those gentlemen recently had fights booked and then fall out, so they are going to throw those two into the main event for June 15th in 3 weeks. Interesting fight. I don't know that it's a main event again with all 3 of these matches here. Excuse me, with both of these matches. The next match we got, luckily, is not a main event announcement, but it is another one of those what the hell are we doing kind of matchups. 2 weeks after the Tatsuro headlined Apex card, still in Vegas, but this time for UFC 303 for International Fight Week. The Pitbull himself, Andrei Arlovsky, stepping back into the cage to take on Martin Buday. That fight doesn't make any kind of sense. It doesn't make any kind of sense to be on a pay-per-view, and I don't know that I've ever been forced to root for Martin Buday before, but Arlovsky might just do it. I might just have to actually root for Martin Buday here, because I'm tired of seeing Arlovsky eke out graciously gifted decision wins in fights that he shouldn't have been in to begin with, and this is exactly another one of those. So we'll see as we get a little closer. The other main event that I did have here that I was referencing earlier, of the 3 that are decent fights but not main event fights, was for the July 13th UFC Denver card. Macy Barber versus Rose Namajunas will officially main event UFC Denver. I get that they are doing Rose a favor and giving her the shot to headline at home in Denver, essentially, but man, that fight is not a main event fight. Fight night, sure. Main event, I don't know, man. I just don't know. That being said,
The week after that, July 20th, surprise, surprise, back in the Apex in Vegas. We got a pair of interesting ladies announcements here for that card. The first one, Tracy Cortez getting back into action, taking on Miranda Maverick. Interesting stylistic matchup. Very curious to see how that one's going to play out. But the other one, Amanda Lemos, however you want to say it, taking on Verna Yonderoba. I don't know about that fight. I kind of feel like they're telling Amanda that she's fallen off without telling her that she's fallen off, because Verna is not really that high ranked of an opponent, especially for somebody in a once potential title contender in Lemos. I don't know, man. That fight's a little bit weird. That being said, we also found out Darren Till will officially be making his professional boxing debut, taking on Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. on the undercard of Mike Tyson and Voldemort, taking place July 20th. I just don't know about anything that Darren is doing right now, least of all taking on Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. and saying that after he finishes him, he's going to fight Jake Paul and then Mike Perry and then go back to the UFC and win a belt. I like Darren Till for the most part. He was a okay fighter. He was great. Showed that. Has essentially retired and unretired twice now since leaving the UFC. And then now, out of all of that, is deciding that he's going to become a professional boxer. And then after that, end influencer boxing. I say in air quotes, that's his words, not mine. Do you, Darren? But the following week, though, July 27th, UFC 304 going down in Manchester, England, got kind of the UFC 300 treatment this morning. Dana White went on, I believe he was on Instagram, and then he did some podcast shortly afterwards that basically echoed what he announced on Instagram. We kind of got exactly what we had all been expecting and what all the rumors had been saying. For UFC 304, we got a non-main event announcement in Bobby Green versus Paddy Pimblett. Love that fucking fight. All about that goddamn fight between that and the Arnold Allen versus Giga Chikadze, and then the Manel Kopp fight versus Muhammad Mukaev. Not bad. Then we got the co-main event. Tom Aspinall will be defending his interim belt against Curtis Blades. I get it. Curtis is the guy that Tom was fighting when he hurt his knee. Makes sense to run that back if John Jones is going to sit on the sidelines and be, a big fucking pussy. Hashtag chickens can't be goats. I get it. Let that bitch boy sit on the sidelines, do all his fucking blow and talk shit from Twitter. But the real champion of the heavyweight division is going to get back out there and defend his belt against the oncomer in home territory. So I'm all for that one. I don't like it, but it makes sense for Tom. Fuck John. Let him sit on the side and bitch. Tommy's going to get out there and do what a real fucking champion does and take all comers. But then we got the main event announcement, and unfortunately, it's exactly what we had all been hearing and hoping that it wasn't, and it is. It is Leon Edwards versus Bilal Muhammad for the 170-pound belt. So, to be fair, we have the 170-pound, the welterweight strap is on the line in the main event. The heavyweight strap, the real belt, is on the line in the co-main event. Paddy Pimblett is facing his first genuine real threat in the UFC. There's a lot of good going on for UFC 304 in Manchester as of right now, and we're still 2 months plus out from it. They're doing more for 304 than they did for 300 than they did for any of these road shows this summer, in my opinion, so far. So I'm happy that the Manchester folks are genuinely going to get a good card. They deserve one, and it looks like they're going to get a real good one. Over on the other side of things, the co-leader, PFL Bellator, has announced their dates for their PFL playoffs August 2nd will be taking place in Nashville, Tennessee. August 16th will be taking place in Hollywood, Florida. And then August 23rd will be taking place in Estados Unidos capital, Washington, D.C. All three different dates are for the different weight classes. We will give a little closer breakdowns of those cards as we get a little closer to them. But playoffs in the PFL are just like playoffs in any other organization at this point. It doesn't matter how many points you got, how many fights you got. It is win or go home, period. So this is where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. Gets interesting over on the PFL side of things. That being said, we did get one more announcement from the UFC, and that was that on September 28th, the UFC will be going back to old Paris. They are taking the fight back under the Eiffel Tower for a third year in a row. September 28th has 0 fights announced for it yet, not yet noted if it is going to be a fight night or a pay-per-view either, just that as of right now, they are officially confirming September 28th will be UFC back in Paris. So be interesting to see how that one plays out and what they stack onto that card. Last one I've got for the news for this week. It was weird if you watched it. I'm sure it's even weirder if you didn't watch it. But last week during the Lomachenko versus Kambodsha fight, the announcer was odd to say the least. Weird if you want to fucking pay attention. He made several mistakes throughout the course of the night, and then in the co-main event with a women's title on the line, he announced the wrong fucking name. Flat out 100% announced the wrong fucking name. Someone came and told him, he realized, oh shit, made a mistake, and then re-announced the actual proper final decision with the correct name. The fighters didn't seem to hold any ill will in the moment, but then afterwards made the announcement on social media that he has decided to officially retire from ring announcing. He will no longer be the world's punching bag. You know, you might not be the world's punching bag if you didn't read the wrong name written on the card directly in front of you into a microphone for a title fight. But, you know, ring announcer, or excuse me, ex-ring announcer is going to do what ex-ring announcers are going to do. That being said, that's what I've got for this week. You got anything over there I missed, brother?
No, nothing good.
Didn't anticipate it, but had to check just to make sure. So that being said, this brings us to the point in most podcasts where you see some stupid fucking B-roll ad for some product that no one on the podcast actually uses from a company that has nothing to do with the actual podcast itself. And we don't fucking roll like that here on I'm No Joe. We are sponsored 100% by the fans. Patreon.com/I'm No Joe. For as little as $1 a month, you can help us do what we do around here. And as a give back and as a thank you, you get your name on the end of every broadcast that goes down on this channel, as well as unfettered, unrestricted access to behind the scenes, unaired, and literally unairable content here on the channel. Things that we just cannot show the general masses, or things that we made just for the folks that helped us do what we do around here, all goes over on Patreon. So that is how you get that. That is how you get us. Thank you to everybody who contributes. That being said, we do this for free pretty much every week. There are fights to talk about, no money required if you do not wish to give some. YouTube.com/I'm No Joe for the video portion. Anchor.fm/I'm No Joe for the all audio portion. That being said, if you are an older head or a hardcore, however you tend to define yourselves, you've been watching combat sports for a while, and you start to learn what you like and how you like to consume it, when it comes on, and how to find it. And inevitably, you may start to develop a set of blinders, as it were, start to lose the forest for the trees. Luckily for us here on the show, though, we've got ourselves a bona fide young person who gets out there and just ever so vigilantly fingers the pulse of the MMA world to help keep us abreast of all the names that are going to be names before they actually get to be names, in a segment that we call Slows, Cans, and Contenders.
Appreciate you, brother. So start off with the cans like I normally do. You throw the majority of the fucking card in the can. As TJ would like to say, just damn near a whole shit. But, another Apex slight hangover. Some decent fights. So, before I get to the contenders, let's talk about like the definitive cans on this card more than any other. Demopoulos versus Ducati as a fight. Like, you just throw that fight in the trash beyond belief. I'm not looking forward to most of the ladies' fights on this card. I am like happy. I will show the UFC some respect for actually for once you put a handful of ladies' fights on a fight card. That's cool. Respect there. But the only ranked lady is Angela Hill, and none of these fights really speak excitement or potential to be good. So damn sure Demopoulos and Ducati to me is probably the worst of the ladies' fights on the card. And Angela Hill in general, I can't stand her, man. Every goddamn time they give her another fight, I keep saying it. Why in the hell have they kept her around? She's 10-11 in the fucking UFC career. So this would be your 22nd fight. Just why? She's been the absolute mid of all mid through her whole career. Only win she can ever get is a fucking split decision. Just, it makes no sense. And Luana Pinheiro is shit as well. Like, that fight's probably not going to be very good, but just like always, I'm always rooting for one can to try to beat this other can. So hopefully, and she's getting close to 40 years old too. So it's just like, come on, give me the day where I can just not hear the squeaky fucking mouse voice of Angela Hill. Good God. I've got Magomed Albus Magomedov versus Warley Alves. It's just the whole fight to me just shit. Warley's been fucking crap for quite some time. In the middle of the pack his whole career. He's lost his last 3 fights, a couple of them by knockout. They're trying to throw Magomedov an easy one after he's lost his past couple fights. And if he can't get that finish, like, it's just going to be a slog. Like, so I'm just throwing that fight in general in the can. You have Vinicius Salvador. I like the kid's story. It was awesome seeing him get the comeback victory he got on the Contender Series. But since the kid's got to the UFC, he's just been really bad. Losing his first couple fights, he's just looked really, really bad. He's finished every fucking win he's had. 14 wins, 14 finishes, 13 of them by knockout. The kid's got some potential. He's still 27 years old. But facing Adrian Yanez this week, oh, man. You're throwing him in the can. You're going to be 0-3 in the UFC. That just means you're probably getting cut. Anyway, another fucking fight I'm throwing in the can as a whole. Chaos Williams versus Carlston Harris. Why? Yeah, yep, just like you're sitting there. Why is it not even why is it on this card? Why isn't it on the early prelim?
Yeah, why is this not on? Why is this not the curtain jerker? This is a fight that should be at the top of the fucking card. I'm not happy about that fucking Demopoulos Cote fight at all, but this, I feel, is even worse than that.
And TJ isn't here with us, but I'm sure out of anything, he'd be totally agreeing with me on this fucking can above any of the others. The spot of it, more than anything, putting it in the co-main event slot makes no fucking sense. Chaos Williams, the kid has potential. And I have liked him since he's gotten in the UFC. He didn't really beat Randy Brown, in my opinion, a couple years ago when they fought. I thought he got lucky when the judges gave him one. But at the same time, he's shown some potential. But the biggest problem with him, he doesn't fucking fight. He one time a year for his literal entire UFC career, pretty much. He has got to be more active. I don't give a fuck whether he wins or loses this fight. If he's still in the UFC, get your ass back in If you're healthy enough to get in there within the next few months, he needs to stay fucking active, especially if he gets the win. He goes out there and gets this fucking win. It does nothing for him, really, but you need to be active. That's the whole reason I feel like the UFC is just throwing him a shitty grappler in Carlston Harris. The dude's getting fucking old. He hasn't done much. That's all he's really got is this grappling. It's going to be a boring ass fight if Chaos Williams can't keep the fight standing, and if Chaos just isn't into it, like we've also seen in some of his fights. He's just one of those guys that, like, sometimes he's off, sometimes he's on, and I feel like it's just like more of an egotistical thing or just a lack of fucking training. He just seems like one of those guys. He doesn't give too much of a fuck. And the same aspect, you only fight one fucking time a year. He seems to have some diva about him. Yeah, throwing that fucking fight in the can. I've got one solid Schrodinger's contender for this weekend. You could throw one of my contenders kind of towards that just because of how his debut went, but I'll touch on that when I get to the contenders. Solid Schrodinger's contender is Kletson Rodriguez for me. This kid has serious potential, but he hasn't looked that great since he got in the UFC. He's got the one knockout victory versus Shannon Ross. Other than that, lost his debut to fucking CJ Vergara. We'll see what the kid can fucking do. I mean, you fight Nalatung Haley. He's not the greatest guy, but he is somewhat exciting. Like, he goes out there and throws down. It's kind of like last week with Chase Hooper fighting Slava Klaus. Not going to be the biggest thing for his fucking career, but it'll definitely help him bounce the fuck back. So that's where he's on the fence for me. You lose again, you're on your way out the door. You get a bounce back win against a tough guy, you can build your way back up. So for my contenders, I'll start off with the guy that I could lean that way, Tom Nolan. I was really high on this kid coming in, and then he loses his debut, gets knocked the fuck out. Not a great look. So he could definitely be on that contender side of things. You don't get this win, and it doesn't matter if he gets a finish or not. You don't get a fucking win here, you probably just can't. You weren't ready for this shit. You'd only had a handful of fights. Kid's still young. Maybe he can build his way back up in the future, but yeah. He goes out there, gets a win this weekend. He's got some fucking potential. He's got some knockout power for sure. He's got a lot of good striking ability, knockout, but the kid's really fucking green. Biggest thing, they're throwing him an easy bone here. Victor Martinez got knocked the fuck out by Jordan Levy. So, I mean, come on now. Come on now, Tom Nolan. That's why I'm putting him on the contender spot, because I do feel like there's no way in hell this kid doesn't go out there, get a nice motherfucking knockout, bounce his way back, show he's got some potential, just like we knew he had. But every guy that wants to go out there and fucking throw down, they do have that chance to fucking get clipped. And because he's young and inexperienced, you just got to work on the defense more than anything if he gets this bounce back win against a guy he should beat. So throwing him in the contender spot, but couldn't be leaning on that contender side. You got Pierre Rodriguez. Her and Tamaris Vidal are the only two ladies I've got in the contender spot. This is because they got slight potential. And this is just like you shaking your head a little bit, like TJ'd be like, oh, no. They're not that damn exciting. They haven't been that exciting since, other than Vidal. That's where I'm giving Vidal an inch here, because her debut, she got that flying knockout with the knee, right? But it was her first knockout in her career. She's only had 3 finishes in her fucking career. She's got to go out there and finish Melissa Gatto, and she's a young chick, even though she's been back and forth so far in the UFC. It would be nice if she goes out there and gets a finish. So she's got an ability. She's 25 years old, right? She could bounce her way back and give herself a shred of light. And I feel like it's the same thing for Pierre Rodriguez. She had won her first couple and lost to Jillian Robertson. And we know Robertson's a damn surefire contender. She is actually one of the better ladies in all the UFC roster, in my opinion. And she's still young as hell, and she's got a bright future ahead of her, right? So it is what it is. You lost to a damn good lady as well, Pierre Rodriguez. You go out there and dust up a chick with some knockout ability. You give her a shred of light too. So it's just like I said, you could damn near throw the whole card in the can, and I know TJ would. But I, the biggest thing with this, I wanted to show that respect to the ladies. We've got a handful of ladies fights on here. A couple of the ladies have an ability to give themselves a shred of light out of the fucking handful that are on this card. Angela Hill, even if she gets a win, even though she's the only ranked fucking lady, that ain't doing shit for her. It doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't matter how many wins she continues to add up. She's not getting no title shot. That is, at the end of the day, it's just how it is. I am excited for this young kid, Omar C. We need some light heavyweight excitement. It's undefeated, 9-0, 7 fucking finishes, 4 of them by knockout, few submissions. Kids fighting now a late notice replacement, 4 days notice. Probably gonna go out there and knock him the fuck out like it's nothing. We'll see what he can do though. But we need some light heavyweight excitement. I got this kid on there. Keep an eye out for him. Adrian Yanez. I feel like he is gonna dust up Vinicius Salvador, and he's going to get himself a bounce back win. His last couple losses were against tough guys, John Martinez, Rob Font. It is what it is. Kid's still young. Those are some tough losses. Maybe he doesn't ever really work his way up the rankings, but I feel like he's still got that potential. He's still got potential to bounce back. He's a hell of a fucking boxer. He's an exciting fighter to watch. Looking forward to seeing what Giannis does this weekend. And then the obvious contender, the best fight on the fucking card, the main event. Edson Barboza versus Lerone Murphy. The whole reason I'm going to be watching it this weekend. I like Lerone Murphy, and I'm excited to see what the kid can do because a lot of people are really counting him out, and I am too a little bit because Edson Barboza's Edson Barboza. And it's just that Murphy's not a grappler. He doesn't really wrestle. He doesn't really have wrestling. He doesn't really have grappling. He's just a striker. He's kind of like Leon Edwards, only he's a featherweight. So he's smaller, If he can go out there, throw down, have a war with Edson, and somehow come out on top, that's huge. It's a huge name for him to get under his belt and be huge for this kid's career. He doesn't have a loss on his record yet. One fucking draw. I mean, he's got a huge opportunity to be a contender. I still feel like Barboza, man, he's like Aldo. He's a fucking legend in the sport, and what he's been doing in the past couple of years, knocking out Billy Q in fucking Kansas City last April, beating the holy living shit out of Sadiq Yusuf after, like, getting the comeback, too. Like, getting clipped in the first round, and then coming back and then just beating the shit out of the kid for the rest of the fight and showing, no, I'm still one of the big dogs in this shit. He should get another opportunity to climb his way back up if he fucking dusts up another serious contender, serious prospect working his way up. Feel like this is going to be a fun ass fight. No, TJ ain't here to give us his thoughts. I know he would just sit here and say all of it's shit. Maybe he would agree with me. The main event has some fucking potential. Or maybe he does actually like Murphy. I can't remember. I don't think that TJ has said anything horrible about Murphy the last time that he fought. I don't think he's one of the young kids that TJ hates. He's got some fucking like for him. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe TJ hates him if he goes out there and knocks out Edson Barboza this week. And he's like, nope, fuck that kid. Who knows? We don't get to hear his opinion, but I'd love to hear yours, brother. What do you got for Kansas contenders this week?
So I agree. This is not, obviously this is a pre-hangover card, as it were. Even though we've got the week off next week, there are no UFC fights. So this is the card leading into 302 that takes place 2 weeks from now, June 1st in Newark. So this is still technically a hangover card. So you have to have realistic expectations, in my opinion, when it comes to the cards before and after pay-per-views, the ones that we call the hangover cards. Generally speaking, those are where they stick the majority of the contractually obligated fights, the fights that aren't really exciting to the fans or aren't really relevant to the divisions, but they're contractually obligated to be made and they have to go somewhere. These kind of fight nights get a lot of those fights, and we've got a lot of those here. That being said, there's still, like we like to say, there's some diamonds in the rough here. It's not all great, but it ain't all trash either here. I absolutely agree. It's nice to see that the UFC is willing to put 4 fucking ladies fights on a card. It's just a shame that they chose these 4 fights to all stick on the same goddamn card, because between the 4 of them, there might be 1 contender's worth of potential combined. And I honestly couldn't tell you which fight it is. I just know that it's not Angela Hill, whoever it is. I do agree the main event is fucking spectacular, and I also agree people are completely fucking sleeping on their own Murphy, and they forget the kid is still undefeated. He might not be a household name here in the States yet, but if you go over to England and ask about Lerone Murphy, they know who the fuck he is for good fucking reason, because that kid's undefeated. He's not a complete fucking can. He might not be a United States household name yet, but he's far from a fucking can. And we've seen firsthand last April what Edson Barboza is fucking capable of. And you've seen in that Sadiq Youssef fight, like you mentioned, what he's capable of, even when he's fucking hurt and has to come back from down odds. Edson is still always capable. So that fucking main event is solid as a fucking rock, in my opinion. I don't know that Lerone Murphy has what it takes to finish Barboza, but I also think that he's got enough strengths in his stand-up and enough endurance to be able to make it a potential 25-minute fucking war with Edson if he can get that far. On the other side of that, there are some absolute fucking stinkers on this goddamn card for sure. And I don't understand how or why it got here, but the people's co-main event is my absolute fucking can of this match. Ramiz Brahimaj versus Themba Garimbo. Why the fuck is this fight on the main card, period? This screams prelims almost louder than anything else on the whole goddamn card. But we get it in the fucking main card portion as the people's co-main event, no fucking less. I have zero faith this fight will be anything fucking interesting whatsoever. I do agree Tom Nolan versus Victor Martinez is a very, very interesting matchup here. Tom Nolan, just the one in that L column, and it was such a fucking rough one to see him fucking catch. But so fucking often, I would almost say more often than not, we see guys in that situation taste that fucking humility, taste that humble pie for the first fucking time, and they come back hungrier and fiercer than they ever fucking were before. And then when you step into a guy, step in with a guy like Victor Martinez here, who is essentially teed up on a fucking platter for Tom Nolan to just send to the goddamn shadow realm. This fight, I think, is going to be very fucking fun, preferably for Tom Nolan's side. But Victor Martinez absolutely has the puncher's chance, the 1 in a million, anything could happen. But I agree. I think this is very much teed up for Tom Nolan to just send that gentleman to the fucking land of smoke and ghosts. I'm very curious, though, about the Omar Sy versus Tuco Tucos match. Tuco Tucos, to his credit, 4 days fucking notice, like you mentioned. Dude trains down at Killcliff with fucking LDV and Robbie Lawler and all the fucking killers they have down at Killcliff in Florida. So it's not like he's a complete nobody. The dude is fairly well-rounded, but this is, again, a 4-day notice step in here. So it's definitely not in his favor. The one thing I will say that does make this more interesting than anything, in my opinion, Omar Sy was previously a heavyweight, now coming down to light heavyweight, whereas Tuco has always been a light heavyweight, fought his whole career there, I believe. So this is just a matter of making the weight more than being comfortable with what he's doing. Whereas Umar C is still coming down from heavyweight to light heavyweight, and that's a 60-pound weight class. That's the big fucking range. If he's making this cut, obviously he wasn't that big of a heavyweight, but that still has a factor to play here, in my opinion. So I'm very curious about that. And we'll talk more in TJ's segment that I'm going to cover about that fight as well, because even Vegas sees there's some interest in that fight, in my opinion. The one I will say I am the most excited about out of any of them, probably the one that no one else is really looking forward to, and that's maybe because I'm weird and I'm petty and I like to see if people really do get their comeuppance or if they can turn their shit around, and that's Warley Alves versus Abus Magomedov. I think this is the last time around for the bus. Abus Magomedov got teed up when they brought him in and has basically done nothing but shit the bed ever since. Warley Alves is far from a fucking world beater, but he's not full on can either. He still has some potential here. So I kind of feel like this is one of those like loser leaves town kind of matches that the UFC didn't make official. Not really a great, talent or great stylistic match, but a pair of dudes who have both been through it enough at this point that a good solid loss would be enough for the UFC to justify cutting them fucking loose. And I think we might see that here. Fingers fucking crossed. But that's what I've got for cans and contenders this week.
Good shit. I only questioned the last one there, Warley Alves. I mean, yeah, I hope it's exciting. Like I said, if they don't go after it, it's going to be a slog. But just Alves losing his last three and getting knocked out, I just feel like they're trying to throw an easy one. But you're right, maybe he goes out there and makes it tough for fucking Abus. But we'll see.
Yeah, with the
There's
run that Abus has been.
There's definitely some fun shit though.
Yeah.
The majority cans, but there's some fun shit to be had.
Yeah, and if you're a parlay kind of player, there's lots of fun to be had in the parlay world. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Hell yeah, some underdogs to bet on.
Yes.
That's it for me.
Good shit. Thank you, sir. So normally this would be the part where I throw it off, but instead I'm going to handle it, but I'm still going to handle it normally. So this is the only segment in the show that actually requires its own individual disclaimer. So Tapology.com does not in any way, shape, or form support, sponsor, or endorse the I'm No Joe podcast. Yet. That being said, Tapology.com does offer you the option to go onto their site and create a free account, make fantasy-style MMA picks like we do here. They even let you make groups on there. So we did. We made one called I'm No Bookie or Group 965, however you need to search it. It is open to the public. You are welcome and encouraged. Make yourself an account, join the group, and let us know who the hell you are so we can hold your picks accountable like we hold our picks accountable in a little segment that tonight we're calling Tapology with Meter. Thank you. You're welcome. So, normally, this would be the part where TJ steps in and handle things, but happy birthday, Liam. Enjoy that sushi this evening. TJ's got life events going on, so we go on. We're going to start here with our I'm No Joe Summer Grand Prix. Things are heating up, to say the very least. It is getting real interesting. This is one of the shorter ones. The Spring Grand Prix was the longest. Summer Grand Prix gets a little shorter. Fall Grand Prix gets a little shorter. The Winter Grand Prix to take the year is going to be the shortest one. So getting your points in while you can matters more than ever. And I fucked up and missed the whole first week. Started an entire event down deficit. So I am literally clawing my way back up from the bottom of Trip Over Your Dixville and trying my damnedest to get it through. So let me pull up the group here for last week's picks. I thought I had it up. I did not. One moment. I apologize. Here we go. There we go. Okay. So St. Louis I don't give a shit what Dana says, was not a record event. We were talking about it in the group chat and watching the Ticketmaster site for UFC St. Louis. They did not have a single section in that entire building sell out. The whole building didn't sell out. Not one segment of seats in the entire arena sold out. There were seats available in every section all the way through the event. So that's bullshit. That being said, though, everybody that made picks last week did pretty good. We only had one person fall below the 500 line, and that was just by one fight. Topping it off last week, yours truly, 605 points, 8 out of 12 correct. Kicking ass and taking names, trying to make up for lost time. Second place, right behind me, 6 of 12 correct at that 500 line. Golfed himself with 490. Right behind him, Slowbake, 6 of 12 as well, 430. Just behind him, 6 of 12 as well, 405 for Vindog the Booty Hog. Just behind him, in a tie, Don with 6 of 12 for 405. You might have noticed a trend there. Like I said, we all did pretty fucking well. The entirety of the middle chunk was made up by perfects and decision choices done correctly. After Don tripping over the lady bits this week was Donna herself. Oh, there we go. 5 of 12 correct for just 340 points last week. Not doing herself a ton of favors. See if she sticks in that group she seems to have slumped into, or if she gets back out of it. So as of right now, the standings in the I'm No Joe Summer Grand Prix. Golf Tee sitting number 1 with 1,685 points up top. Just ever so fucking slightly behind him. 1,680 points, a 5-point difference. Vindog the Booty Hog sitting in number 2. Third place, that fella right over there, Slow Bake with 1,575, just a little behind those boys. Behind him is Donna sitting at 1,455, holding the middle of the pack. Below her is Don sitting at 1,340. And then I am still in last place, but I have gained ground. Last week I was 400 points behind Don. Starting into this week, I am now only 120 points behind Don. Crosshairs on the back of your head, my dude. I'm clawing my way out of the goddamn pit. I'm not tripping over my dick this time. But if you would like to get yourself into the fall Grand Prix for the I'm No Joe group, make sure you are joined into the Tapology group and let us know who the fuck you are so that you can make sure you get an invite sent to you when the fall starts. That being said, if you are a betting type of folk, we have got some interesting odds this week, to say the least. For those of you who are keeping up, I do apologize. I am not Golf Tee. I do not use MGM. That fucking site don't like me. They can eat a bag of dicks. I use DraftKings, and it just fucking works. That being said, according to DraftKings, we have got some interesting odds this weekend. There are, as you would expect, several coin flip fights where the odds just don't really make much of a difference. But there are a couple of very interesting ones here. Starting right up at the fucking top. We talked about it a little bit pregame here before we started the show. The curtain jerker, Vanessa Demopoulos versus Emily Ducote. Demopoulos is the plus 300, the plus 300 underdog to Ducote's minus 380 favorite. Those are big odds for unranked ladies, in my opinion, here. A little further down here, The one that we talked about earlier. I told you I was going to come back to it when we got to this segment here. Omar C versus Tuco Tucos. As to be expected, 4 days notice, they've got Tucos as the underdog with a plus 350, but they have got Omar as the favorite with a minus 455. They seem to have very little faith in that short notice gentleman stepping in and being able to handle it. So if you know something that we don't, there's a chance for you to make some damn money right there. Christian mentioned it earlier. Tamara's Vidal. I agree. I think she should be the clear front runner in this match against Melissa Gatto. Vegas does not seem to think so, though. Vegas has got Vidal as the plus 270 underdog with Melissa Gatto as a minus 340 favorite. I am not sure what Vegas knows that we apparently miss, but I in no world would have put Gatto as that big of a favorite in this matchup here. I think this is likely to be a Vidal victory, but even if it's not, I don't think Gatto has the skill set to make it that wide of an odds gap, in my opinion. So that could potentially be another one. If you got a little money to throw around and you're looking for somewhere to put it, that's some big fucking odds on this card. The other biggest set of odds here, ironically, main event, co-main event, people's co-main event, all coin flips. The other big set of odds here, Christian talked about it. Victor Martinez plus 360 underdog to Tom Nolan minus 470 favorite. Vegas seems to think Nolan's coming in here to lay him the fuck out as well. So that is definitely a chance for you to potentially get a little fucking scratch in your parlay board if you're looking to strike one across. Last big one that I have got on the cards here, or excuse me, on the card, Adrian Yanez. We talked about it earlier. He's kind of expected to be the favorite here. I agree. Vinicius has a chance. I will say he has a chance to pull this one out, but Vegas seems to think it's real fucking slim with a plus 310 underdog spot for Vinicius and a minus 395 favorite for Yanez. I agree. I don't know if Yanez is ever going to get back to the title, but even Vegas seems to think he's getting through this one with a W for damn sure as well. That being said, before we wrap things up here, since I did forget in the beginning, like I do a lot of the times, I am going to give you guys the combat sports menu for the weekend because there is more than just the UFC for you to look forward to. If you need some punchy kicking in your life, there is plenty of it going down this weekend. Starting things off bright and fucking early, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central Time, tomorrow morning, just a couple of hours here. Bellator Champion Series from Paris. Title in the main event, Patchy Mix versus Magomed Magomedov, a damn good fight. Cedric Doumbé in the co-main event. Those two got into it at the weigh-ins. Interested to see how that one plays out. Several good fights on this card. It's just a shame that it's so damn early tomorrow, but Bellator is going to Bellator. What are you going to do? That being said, tomorrow night, we've got plenty going on tomorrow evening as well. Starting at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, BKFC Omaha kicks off. There are several matchups on this card that are very interesting, but there are plenty of full-on unknowns on here. So if you just want to see a motherfucker get punched in the face and some blood get sprayed, you can find that on BKFC Friday night. I promise you, somebody's going to bleed. If that's not your thing, you'd rather see a little more professional sanction type of actual credentialed MMA. Fret not, just a little while later, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central Standard, LFA 184 kicks off. This is another one of those feeder organizations that most of these guys that win here go directly to the UFC. They have got a bunch of names here that are either top name prospects or guys that have been at the UFC level and have bounced back down and are making their way back up. There are several names here that even the casual will recognize. Hardcores are going to know probably 2/3 of this card. Damn interesting matchup here, in my opinion, in the main event. Ozzy Diaz is just fucking crazy, dude. That's going to be a good night. Kicking us off Saturday, bright and early because it's from fucking Riyadh. Noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk. The first time in the modern four-belt era, the heavyweights are going to unify all four straps. There is a rematch clause, though, so it's only so exciting. You know these guys are going to fight again regardless of how this one plays out. But this is the first time the vast majority of the boxing world has genuinely, seriously doubted Tyson Fury's ability to come through in a clutch moment. The Francis Ngannou match really genuinely shook his credibility here. So Alexander Usyk has been out there, a dude that went out and fought on the front lines of Ukraine, took time off from his boxing career to put the fucking uniform on, grab the rifle, and defend his home fucking country, and then came back and is now ready to go and unify all four of the fucking heavyweight belts. Damn fun boxing to be had Saturday afternoon. And then that will bring us to Saturday later afternoon, not evening, unfortunately, but later, 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, UFC back in the Apex for Barboza versus Murphy kicking off. Everything should be wrapped up all Saturday evening for you to go out and have a good time if you're done with the fighting. But that being said, we have got lots of punchy kickies to be had this weekend. Plenty for you to get in store for if you are looking for that type of thing. That being said, that is all we've got for this particular episode. But as you might or might not know, when we wrap things up around here, that is not the end of the fun, because tomorrow morning and almost every Friday morning, that gentleman right there and his other half kick off their podcast, the Slow Bake and Contemplate podcast, over on Spreaker.com. You can check out the link for their podcast as well as their socials and their very own channel over on the I'm No Joe Discord server as well, all down below.
Appreciate you, brother. The fun never fucking stops. Even though he's not fucking here. He had a show last night for the first time in a couple weeks. Every fucking Wednesday night you can catch the brother TJ on his fucking show on YouTube, Foggy Fairway. Tune in to Golf T Vape's YouTube channel. Just like Meter said, the link for his YouTube channel and everything else Golf T fucking does will be down in the description. Make sure you show the brother some love.
Absolutely. And in case you didn't know, I do more than just I'm No Joe. I do all sorts of things. That's why my name is The Meter Does Many Things. If you're interested in any of the many things that I get up to, including or outside of the I'm No Joe things, links down in the description as well. Linktree / The Meter Does Many Things for all of the many things I get up to, or Linktree / I'm No Joe for all of the things show related down here. Check them out, hit all the links, find all the things. If you like what we get up to around here, make sure you are subscribed and your notifications are turned on. Give us a thumbs up. Maybe share an episode with a friend in this week that you got off from us here. Help us grow the channel. We really appreciate it. On the other side of that, though, if you don't like what we get up to around here, first and foremost, what the fuck are you still doing this deep into a podcast you didn't enjoy? Give us a thumbs down and then go fuck yourself. We won't even dispute it. That being said, Thursday nights, 9:30 Central Standard-ish time, youtube.com / I'm No Joe for the video portion, anchor.fm / I'm No Joe to pick up the all audio version a week later in your podcast consumption platform of choice. Google, Apple, Spotify, everywhere. We're all over. Patreon.com / I'm No Joe if you want to help out. If not, don't worry about it. It's all free just the same. But that's what we got for this particular episode. So remember, boys and girls, until next time, don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything. Unless it's football players acting normal in the fucking off season.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning.
In fact, it was a little bit frightening.
How do I say goodbye to what